what works in Liverpool's favour, as I say, is I think with the Trent one, they just know it's going to have to be massive. It's going to have to be sort of not too far away, maybe from the Mo Salah money that they're offering there. I think that's the reality of it. But I think this is one of the things actually about, because they've left it to this point. I think the Salah one is a particularly difficult contract negotiation. If I'm honest, I just think there were signs of decline there last season. I still think he could be incredibly useful this season. Don't have to say useful. It'll probably be Liverpool's primary source of goals again, to be honest. But I just think he's on such big money at the moment. Those small signs of decline were there. You know, I think there's a big risk there for Liverpool that they won't like, and I think especially with Michael Edwards back and that being, setting up really how they sort of approach these situations. There's just a major compromise that has to be made around the money, because Mohamed Salah's not really going to want a pay cut, is he? And I think Liverpool are going to say, well, ultimately we're not going to be probably getting the same level of performance as we did over the length of this contract. So they would probably like to bring that down. So again, I think that's a really tricky one. And I've said this before, but I think of the three, it's the one I kind of find the hardest to imagine him signing. I mean, no question he'll be there next year, because he'd never push for a move when he's in the final year of his contract, because he'd be leaving money on the table for himself. So it'd be madness to do that. So no doubt he'll be there next season, and there won't be a sale or anything like that. But in terms of what happens beyond that, I think it's the biggest question mark of the three contract situations. The one I'm least confident will get resolved with him staying at Liverpool, to be honest.
Do you think that there's any potential regret at not taking the offer that came in from Saudi last summer? Because I have to say, I'm somebody who this summer fully expected Mohamed Salah to be sold. But last summer, I have to say, David, I was certainly in the camp of reject any offer that came in and let's see how he gets on. So maybe I'm a bit of a dreamer here, but I've always had this vision that maybe Rami Abbas and Liverpool could come to some agreement that he is sold this summer, and maybe half of the transfer fee or something goes in Mohamed Salah's pocket, because as you rightly pointed out, he knows there's a huge sign-on on fee coming if he departs Liverpool at the end of his contract.
Yeah, I don't think they'll have regrets over last summer, to be honest, because of what it was worth to them to keep him. And it was clear in that moment. I remember I wrote a piece about this at the time, actually saying, look, Liverpool will need him to get back in the Champions League. That was the number one aim of last season. He played a massive role in that, and Liverpool won a trophy last season as well. So it clearly there was value in that. It pushed that rebuild over the line, didn't it? He was there. They changed so much in midfield, but they had that consistent source of goals in Salah, and that got them back in the Champions League, which is what they needed. The financial rewards of that have set them up perfectly now for into this new era with Arne Slot. So I think it was a bit of a no-brainer to keep him. But as you say, it's a difficult situation now in that you can't really force him to go. You can't force the sale, and I think everybody accepts now, regardless of what happens with the contract, he is going to stay, and that obviously does have some financial implications. But at the end of the day, I think Liverpool stared that down last summer and said, well, that would still be worth it. And again, they don't mind losing players on free transfers, do they? If they feel like they've got value out of the contract, and we've seen it with so many players in recent years. So I think, again, even with Salah, even with leaving a little bit of money on the table, not selling him last summer, I still think they would think it was worth it. And the same will be the case if he leaves on a free in the coming summer.